If you constantly feel exhausted, you're in good company. Research indicates that the average adult in the US experiences fatigue on 3 days each week, and between 30 to 48% of adults struggle with sleep issues. However, the real issue for many isn't the quantity of sleep, but rather the anxiety about sleep, often fueled by common myths. That's what we'll address in this video. I've spent a good amount of time researching the science of sleep, and I can tell you, even with a medical background, it can be quite perplexing. When I discuss sleep with people, it's often tricky to sort out which advice is beneficial and which should be disregarded. Take, for example, Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep, which is quite informative. However, it also led to a big frenzy about needing to sleep for 8 hours every night. People started worrying that if they didn't get 8 hours, they would face serious health issues like Alzheimer's disease and heart problems. All this worry builds up into what we call sleep anxiety. This means being scared or stressed about not being able to sleep, which ironically makes it even harder to fall asleep, creating a harmful cycle. I'm going to discuss the 7 sleep myths in this video, and hopefully, it will clear up some misconceptions and help you achieve a better night's sleep. Myth number 1, what matters is getting enough sleep, not when you sleep. However, the timing of our sleep is also really important, all thanks to something called the circadian rhythm. This rhythm is basically your body's internal clock that tells you what you need at different times of the day. In the 1990s, a researcher named Russell and his team found out that there are specific cells in our eyes. These cells aren't for seeing, but for detecting light. This detection helps our brains figure out the time of day and keeps our internal clock regulated. Since our internal clocks react to light, we generally feel alert when it's bright outside and sleepy when it's dark. Russell and his research team have spent the past few years studying what happens when our circadian rhythms are disrupted, such as when we sleep at unusual times. This could happen because of jet lag or working night shifts. Their research shows that people with disrupted circadian rhythms often have higher levels of stress hormones and a greater risk of heart disease. These individuals also tend to get sick more often and are more likely to experience emotional and cognitive issues. It's important to understand that while we all have an internal clock, they aren't all set the same way. This is why some people say they're morning people or night owls. This difference is related to what scientists call your chronotype. A chronotype reflects our natural tendency to sleep at certain times, and researchers use this concept to categorize us based on when we prefer to sleep. For instance, if you naturally wake up early and are most productive in the morning, you likely have a morning chronotype. If you're a morning person, you might find that morning is the best time for activities that require your highest focus or creativity. On the other hand, if you're a night owl, that's perfectly okay too. If possible, try adjusting your schedule so that you do your focused tasks at night. Personally, I've tried hard to become a morning person. I attempted to wake up at 5 in the morning and go straight to the gym, but it was a complete nightmare for me. So now, I wake up at a more reasonable time, around 7 or 7:30. I think I'm more of a midday person. I prefer to get my tasks done in the morning and relax in the evening. Myth number 2, everyone should get 8 hours of sleep. The truth is, there's a lot of variation in how much sleep people really need. A common frustration is that people often think the average amount of sleep needed, like 8 hours, is right for everyone. But that's not true. A healthy amount of sleep can vary from as little as 6 hours to as much as 10 or 11 hours. Yes, there's an average amount of sleep people need, but it really varies from person to person. Instead of stressing about getting a specific number of hours of sleep, like worrying that you only slept 7 hours and believing you'll have a bad day, you should consider other ways to improve your sleep. For example, ask yourself if you woke up naturally in the morning or if you needed an alarm to wake you up. Usually, if you wake up on your own, it means you've had a decent amount of sleep. You could also think about whether it took you a long time to feel fully awake. Did you feel like you needed coffee or some other caffeinated drink to help wake you up? If so, it might mean you didn't get enough sleep. It's best to wake up at the same time each day. This isn't completely a myth. It's important to remember that our body clocks or circadian rhythms can change as we go through life. For instance, it's common for teenagers to be more active in the evening, which is why they often find it hard to wake up early in the morning. Also, there might be times we don't sleep well because we stayed up late, maybe for a special occasion, or to hang out with friends. You'll notice similar changes in sleep patterns in older adults as they age. Myth number 4. It's best to stay away from blue light before going to sleep. So, why do people say this? Well, blue light is a type of light with a short wavelength which typically carries more energy. Scientists have suggested that blue light might affect our eyes in a way that makes falling asleep more difficult. For instance, my glasses have a blue light filter. When I was at the opticians, they asked if I wanted to add this filter for an extra 100 pounds because it could improve my sleep. I decided to go for it, though it turns out that might not be completely true. Also, if you're liking these myths, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button to help with the YouTube algorithm. It really helps a lot. Myth number 5. Sleep apps improve your sleep. I once got really into tracking my sleep. I bought the Oura Ring and now I use an 8-sleep mattress, which is pretty good, honestly. I used to monitor all my sleep data closely. But then, I'd wake up in the morning and see something like, my sleep readiness score is 54%. I would think, oh, but I felt okay when I woke up. Maybe I'm not actually feeling as good as I thought. My sleep score was 54%, which made me think I should be having a bad day. I realized I was almost tricking myself into feeling worse because of what these sleep tracking apps were telling me about my sleep quality. It's interesting to know your sleep score if you like to optimize every part of your life, but the biological and psychological signals your body sends are much more important. How did you feel when you woke up? Were you well rested? Did you need an alarm to wake up? How did you feel throughout the day? These real-life indicators are much more significant than any sleep fitness score an app could give you. Myth number 6. Melatonin improves our sleep. You might know about melatonin. It's a popular supplement in the US that many people use. Some take it to deal with jet lag, while others use it to improve their sleep quality, especially if they struggle with poor sleep. An important study on this was carried out in 2007, specifically involving autistic children. Researchers discovered that children who took small, regular doses of melatonin daily for 3 months were able to fall asleep 30 minutes earlier. However, a few years later in 2013, a meta-analysis questioned the effectiveness of melatonin on sleep. The study revealed that, on average, melatonin shortened the time it took to fall asleep by only about 7 minutes, which isn't very significant. If you're interested in more recent information, the book Lifetime, which I listened to on Audible and was released in 2022, is really good. This book even has a nice signed copy right here. It discusses the latest findings about melatonin. It might be useful for jet lag, but perhaps not so much for everyday sleep issues. By the way, if you've watched this far, you're probably interested in sleep. I'd love to hear in the comments below what you've tried to improve your sleep and whether it worked or not. It would be great to gather different tips from people on how to get better sleep. Myth number 7. Polyphasic sleep can boost your productivity. Polyphasic sleep schedules were really popular about 10 years ago among biohackers and are becoming popular again. The idea is that you sleep several times during the day. For example, you might sleep for 4 hours, wake up to do some things, and then go back to sleep for another 4 hours. This means you have more than one sleeping period in a day. The theory behind polyphasic sleep is that it gives us more hours awake, which could make us more productive. The quality of work we produce during those extra waking hours is usually lower because we tend to be more tired, which makes us less productive and less creative. Also, some studies have found that students who follow a polyphasic sleep schedule perform worse on exams than students who have a regular monophasic sleep schedule. So, the evidence, according to experts, generally shows that splitting your sleep into several short periods throughout the day doesn't really boost your productivity as much as some blog, like Lifehacker, might claim. That's all for today. I hope this information helps you sleep better. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.